The left never ceases to amaze me. Whenever we have a riot, the police pull out the tear gas, and the left comes back and says, tear gas violates the Geneva Convention. How can you use tear gas against civilian populations if you can't even use them against enemy soldiers? Do they have a point? Oh, hell no, they don't have a point. They don't understand what they're talking about. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
So here's a typical example. This is the USA Today. Fact check. It's true, tear gas is a chemical weapon banned in war. And I'll go ahead and post a link to this if you want to read it, but I can give you the short-term answer here is, yes, it is. It's true. Tear gas is not allowed in warfare. And it is true that tear gas is specifically allowed to be used against civilian populations by law enforcement in the United States. There is a certain treaty that we have signed that allows us to do that. Now, what about the argument that, well, if you can't use the tear gas against enemy soldiers, how can you use it against innocent civilians? Well, let me explain this to you. We have long held that the use of poisonous gases against enemy troops is just a no-no. I mean, a poison gas attack can strike real fear into the enemy. I mean, I don't have to go into the actual horrors of true poisonous gases as they are used in war. We're quite familiar with them. The problem with tear gas is that it can be used to simulate a poison gas attack. So by sending tear gas into the enemy lines, you can make the enemy soldiers fear they're actually being attacked with a poison gas. And because they've come under the conclusion that poisonous gases are not allowed to be used by both sides, they're not likely to be carrying any kind of gas mask or anything like that. And that can strike fear into the enemy, making them cower, making them immobile, and therefore making them easy targets. We have decided a long time ago that any kind of civilian populations don't have this concern. If you see tear gas coming your way, you don't think that you're going to be demobilized and then shot. Civilian populations and military soldiers are completely different things. It is not true that just because you ban the use of a certain substance against enemy soldiers that you can't use those against civilians. It depends on the context. And that is something that the left really has a hard time understanding. All they can think about is it's banned against enemy soldiers, therefore it must be horrible to use against civilians. Not true. So, it is true that tear gas violates the Geneva Convention if it's used against enemy soldiers. It is not true that it has been banned against civilian populations by law enforcement. In the United States, there is a treaty that specifically allows such a thing, and there are good reasons for that. If you don't have tear gas, then what do you use? You have a riot breaking out. You have people assaulting people. They're breaking out stores. They're setting fires. How are you going to control that population? Can't use tear gas because you can't use tear gas because it violates the Geneva Convention. What are you going to use? Water cannon? Well, that's very effective. But that also has a lot of cultural problems in the United States because we primarily used it very heavily against black populations in the 1960s. And so we don't want to bring that back. What else is there? Ultimately, tear gas is, for the most part, safe. Yeah, it is possible to get seriously hurt, maybe even killed by tear gas, but the chances are extremely low. In the vast, vast majority of cases, tear gas is harmless. And it's also very effective in controlling crowds. Therefore, if you want to ban the use of tear gas against civilian populations, you're going to have to come up with something better, and I don't know what that would be. Like my video, subscribe to my channel.